Dating apps were designed to make meeting people easier, to reduce risk, to give users control. But behind some profiles are people who are not looking for connection. They are looking for access. Over the past decade, police forces and journalists have documented a disturbing pattern. Dates that begin with normal conversation, mutual attraction, and public meetings, and end in fear, manipulation, violence, or disappearance. This documentary examines 7 real Tinder matches that went catastrophically wrong. These are not urban legends. They are cases drawn from police investigations, court proceedings, and verified reports. Each story began with a swipe. Each ended with consequences no one expected. Our first case concerns a date that simply wouldn't end. A woman in her late 20s met a man through Tinder for drinks in a city center bar. By all accounts, he was polite, calm, and unremarkable. After walking her home, he asked if he could use her bathroom. She agreed. What followed was not a brief stop, but hours of escalating discomfort. He refused to leave her flat, growing more aggressive each time she confronted him. Eventually, he barricaded himself inside, turning her home into a prison. The police were called and later confirmed that this man had used dating apps repeatedly to gain access to women's homes, testing boundaries until he could exert control. It's a chilling reminder that predators don't always start with violence. Often, they start by being agreeable. Next, we look at the match who had a hidden history. A man connected with a woman whose profile seemed completely genuine. She had verified photos, they shared mutual interests, and she was clear about her boundaries from the start. What he didn't know was that she was using multiple accounts after being banned from several platforms for her behavior. Within weeks of them dating, his friends started noticing changes. He became isolated, had unexplained injuries, and seemed suddenly terrified of ending the relationship. Police investigations later uncovered a history of assault that she had committed against previous partners she met online. This case reveals a critical flaw. Platform safeguards, like photo verification, can fail. Verification does not equal safety. Our third story is about a date that turned into a stalker. After one brief coffee date, a woman politely declined any further contact. The response was immediate and overwhelming. She received dozens of messages from his account, and then from fake accounts he created. He started emailing her at her workplace. Then the harassment moved offline. He began to physically surveil her. He knew her daily routines, her commute to work, the layout of her apartment building. Authorities would later confirm that the stalking had actually begun before their first and only date. The match was a pretext. He was already watching. This case highlights how dating apps can inadvertently expose our real-world patterns to those with malicious intent. In this next case, a Tinder match escalated into violence. It was the second date. Alcohol was involved. At one point, consent was clearly withdrawn, but the situation turned violent. What followed was not just the immediate trauma of the assault, but a prolonged and difficult legal battle. The case was marked by disbelief from authorities, a delayed investigation, and insufficient evidence collection at the scene. For the victim, the institutional failure was a second assault. The difficult lesson here is that even when a survivor comes forward, survival does not always equal justice. Our fifth case involves a match who simply wasn't who he said he was. A woman had been dating a man for several weeks before she discovered he had lied about everything: his name, his job, even his address. When she confronted him with the truth, he vanished without a trace. He reappeared a few weeks later, but under a different profile, this time contacting her friends. Police later linked his behavior to a wider pattern of identity fraud across multiple dating apps. The key horror here is the deliberate manipulation of identity. It shows how dating apps can be used as a rehearsal space for deception, allowing individuals to perfect their false personas before causing real-world harm. In one of the most disturbing cases we examined, a Tinder date was the last confirmed contact a woman had before she went missing. A review of her messages with the man showed nothing unusual. There was no argument, no clear warning sign, just a normal conversation about meeting up. After that date, she was never seen again. The investigation quickly stalled. Limited data retention policies on the platform meant crucial evidence might have been deleted, and jurisdictional issues between different police departments complicated the search. The digital trail, which seemed so clear, ended abruptly. This case is a stark reminder that not every story gets a resolution. Not all cases get answers. Our final case is one that ended in death. The interaction on the dating app was brief, but the consequences were permanent. A Tinder match resulted in a homicide. Court records from the trial later revealed a significant pattern of violent behavior in the perpetrator A's past. There were ignored warning signs from previous relationships, and even reports made to law enforcement that failed to prevent this final, tragic escalation. The violence was, in hindsight, predictable, but it wasn't stopped. The lesson is a grim one. The earliest warning signs, the ones that seem minor at the time, are often the ones that are most tragically ignored. Across all 7 of these cases, investigators and analysts have identified common factors that create a high-risk environment. These include a rapid escalation of trust, often pushed by one party. There's pressure to move the conversation offline and meet in private very quickly. We see tactics used to isolate the person from their friends and support network. And of course, there is a fundamental lack of independent background verification and limited accountability from the platforms themselves. Dating apps reduce the distance between us, but in doing so, they also reduce the context we need to stay safe. Most matches made on dating apps are, of course, harmless. Some even lead to genuine love and lasting relationships. But these cases are a critical reminder that the architecture of modern dating does not remove risk, it simply changes its shape. The most dangerous moments, the ones that lead to catastrophic outcomes, rarely look dangerous at first. They look like normal dates. They look like a simple swipe right. Thank you for watching. If these stories have affected you, please know that resources are available. Lines for domestic abuse and mental health support are listed in the description below. Stay safe